Welcome to Small Biz Life, episode 110. The top 3 reasons your Facebook ads aren't meeting your expectations.
Does this sound familiar?
Oh my God, I have so much to do today.
Don't forget to breathe.
But I have almost 400 emails in my inbox and 30 phone calls to make.
Have you looked into getting a virtual assistant yet?
Oh, and I need to schedule all my social media posts.
Did you drink anything today?
I had coffee.
Did you eat today?
Did I mention coffee's a bean?
This is Small Biz Life.
Hey guys, welcome to another exciting episode of Small Biz Life.
Yes, it is the action-packed podcast about small business and life. Okay.
Yeah.
Action's not necessarily always there, but the intention and desire to help educate you and make your businesses thrive is.
Right. So it'd be really helpful if you could be like running or working out while you listen to this episode and then be action packed.
That's right. Then it would actually have action.
So we hope you guys are doing really well. We hope that your business is going well. So in case you're new to the show, first we want to welcome you and thank you so much for hitting the play button. My name's Kristen Ingram.
And I'm Jeffrey W. Ingram.
We are a husband and wife team of small business owners. I'm a CPA.
And I'm a computer professional.
Oh, so we're using computer now.
I don't know.
It changes week to week. If you listen every week, it changes a little bit.
Sometimes it's goofy. Sometimes it's less goofy. I don't know.
He's my tech guy. I'm like, we need technical stuff, and he makes it happen. So combined, though, we have 30 years of experience working with small businesses, owning our own small businesses. And
dealing with a lot of life in that time.
Yeah. If you go back through the episode list, we do talk about life quite a bit. In fact, last episode, we talked about how we've survived marriage as small business owners, because I know that's a tough thing. So if you haven't listened to that one, go check it out. But, we deal with a lot of different issues because we know as small business owners, there's a lot of different things that you're juggling. And I know that Facebook ads is one of those things. I think, a lot of small business owners I talk to have either tried to run Facebook ads and they didn't meet their expectations. They didn't get the kind of traction that they wanted to from them. Or people are just really scared, because they're worried that they're going to waste money.
Yeah, and so we have a community on Facebook, the Small Biz Life community. Yeah, sure, I know the name. And within that community, we're actually talking to a lot of the people in there about their struggles with Facebook ads. And so we kind of came up with the top 3, and that's how we kind of came up with this. These are from actual small business owners. So
right, and that seemed to be the really big thing, is that people have kind of played with them. Maybe they run an ad or two, but they felt like it didn't meet their expectations. So we're going to talk about the 3 reasons why, your ads are not meeting your expectations. So I think the first one, and this might be a little bit hard to hear, but you may have expectations that are too high.
Yes, you're probably not going to be able to do a $2.50 ad buy and make $1 million off of your first funnel. Probably not going to happen.
Right. And I think that's the problem, though, is like, I think people hear of these people doing, like a $500 ad buy and making all sorts of crazy money. They're not doing that on their first ads.
Yes.
They're probably not doing that at all.
They're probably not doing it at all. And if they are, there's probably a lot more going on than Facebook ads that are helping them generate the money. Maybe they have an extensive number of partners that they're working with, and their partners are feeding them actual leads. So I wouldn't be leery to believe anyone who said they had a $500 ad buy that made them so much money. I mean, think about this. Some of the big names you think of in the business, Brendon Burchard, Russell Brunson right now is really big. When you go to these people's websites and then you go back onto Facebook, you start getting ads from people like them. All of the time I'm seeing Russell Brunson and I don't know if I see too many Brendon Burchard ads.
I get a lot of Brendon Burchard ads.
But you get lots of ads from them because they are spending serious money every day. I know we were at a High Performance Academy, and Brennan's like, the reason he doesn't buy more Facebook ads is because they won't let him give them more money.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, a lot of these top performers, they're spending $100,000 a year on ads. They're spending $1 million a year on ads.
And I understand that, especially when you're a really small business, you're afraid. You think of budgets as in the size of, I have a $50 budget or, maybe a $500 budget to advertising. The people I see who are very successful at running online businesses, especially, but businesses in general through marketing, don't think about it as in how much is the total ad buy. They think about it more as in, for every dollar I spend, how much do I get back? Mm-hmm. And so if they're getting more money back than they're putting in, really at that point, Brennan's right. Why aren't you putting more money in?
Right. Well, and the thing, if you think about it in terms of like an annual ad spend, right? So like, let's say that you want to spend $2,600 a year on advertising. And you think that Facebook is the way to do that. Mm-hmm. If you're doing B2B, mm-hmm. that means that you could spend $10 a day, Monday through Friday, every week for the entire mm-hmm. year. And that's going to get you some pretty good traction. Mm-hmm. I think another mistake that we make when we have expectations is we think we're going to run one ad that's going to go gangbusters. And mm-hmm. if it doesn't, you never want to run ads again. Yes, the ads are the problem. Right. Because the first ad in which you're not an experienced digital marketer is going to make you $1 million on like a $2.50 ad buy. Mm-hmm. Not going to happen. And that's the thing. It's like, you're going to get better at it over time. Mm-hmm. And actually, Facebook has come out and said, the more often you run ads, the easier it is for us to target the right people who mm-hmm. are going to respond to your ads. Yeah, because essentially what happens is Facebook knows who you've targeted before. And it actually makes it really simple. And we'll talk about this a bit more later, but they'll even tell you the words you've used before to target people. And they know a lot more information about those people than you do. Mm. You're picking a few different keywords, maybe, locations, trying to get into the acceptable audience size, and then you're trying to run ads. But they know all of the other data as well. So that they find particularly people who like this keyword and who like this page, even though you didn't ask for that page, they're going to maybe try and start showing it more to people on that page because they want you to have a good experience buying the ads from them. Right. So, I think, when you have your expectations, you've got to look at the fact that, you've got to run ads over time. Mm-hmm. Don't do a big, huge ad buy and throw $500 into Facebook mm-hmm. ads over a couple weeks and then be upset. Yeah. You also have to make sure that you're watching your ads as they're running mm-hmm. and you're watching to see what is performing, what isn't performing. I think a lot of small business owners, what they'll do is they will run like one ad. And everybody I talk to in digital marketing has said, no, you need to run a whole bunch of different ads mm-hmm. at a very low buy and see which ones do well. Mm-hmm. And then you kind of cultivate out. And even when you're doing that, that final ad buy where you're putting in, some money, you're still running multiple mm-hmm. ads at that point because no one ad is going to appeal to everyone. No. One of the things that Brendan Burchard teaches is that, you should always have like a picture ad and a video ad mm-hmm. that are pretty much the same content, but one is a picture with written content and then another one's a video. And it goes the idea where some people respond better to images over video. Video is a little bit more of an ask for people to actually click through and listen to what you're saying in Facebook. So you're going to actually probably have a high rejection rate normally, especially if they don't know who you are. But they're typically more compelling once they do click through. Right. And then, I think a lot of times we will run ads and that ad will hit, maybe 100 people, maybe 200 people. And we make these really rash judgments based off of that. And I get that too, because sometimes I just want to spend like $5, like boosting a post. And I sit there and I go and I check, it gets accepted and I go back and check. And 20 minutes later, like 100 people have seen it and no one's liked it. No one's commented on it. No one's clicked through on it. And I get frustrated and I leave. Mm-hmm. Take my ball and go home. Right. And I think you said Jeff Walker has a 1K rule. Yeah. And it's his way to defeat statistics. So
at the higher end, you're going to, be able to statistically analyze. You'll have people to do this for you to tell you when you have a statistically significant sample size. But Jeff Walker, I was going through some of his stuff in PLF, and he was like, hey, listen, do 1K. That way you get enough of a demographic overview of the people in the audience to understand whether or not it's relevant. And that's for your Facebook ad. And that really flows through everything. You need to get about 1,000 people through your landing page to make sure that there's enough traffic to really determine whether or not the conversion rate is really what it is.
Right. And that's the thing. And, I've had people that, have come to me and be like, my landing page sucks. And I said, what do you mean? Well, my conversion rate is 10%. And I said, all right, well, how many people have gone to to your landing page? 10.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you sent 10 people to your page and 1 person opted in. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that sample size is too small.
Yeah.
You need to have, for at least for landing page, I want to have at least 100 people.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to have 1,000 people before I start looking at, whether or not my opt-in is good. But if you've had like 10 or 20 people, you can't judge your whole page on that.
And the other thing to keep in mind too is sometimes what we want the return to be isn't realistic with what you're going to get. And doing some quick research on click-through rates on Facebook ads, it's under 2%.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you get 100 people out there, you're probably going to have 2.
Yep. And that's why you're going to pay more for click-through rates than you are going to pay for impressions,
mm-hmm.
right? So an impression, you're paying for everyone who gets it on their feed.
Mm-hmm.
If you're paying per click, that means they actually have to interact with the ad before you pay for it.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and you're going to pay, probably 25 to 50 times more for the click because only 2% of people are actually going to click.
Yeah.
So don't go, oh my God, I'm paying $1 per click.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe 200 people are seeing that ad.
Yeah.
They're just not interacting with it.
Mm-hmm.
And that might be a point where where you start to look at it and say, okay, if people aren't interacting with this ad, maybe I think about changing something.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing too is when you first start off, and without going into too much of the specifics, the thing to keep in mind is Facebook is a computer algorithm machine. And so just over time in general, they're going to get better at getting your ad in front of people who might be interested.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're starting off, no matter how good you go through and pick out a good audience, which we're about to talk a bit more about, unless you get to that point, where you've done it several times through the same account, it's not going to be very good, even with you selecting a few different things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it takes a little bit. And the thing is, what Facebook will do, the more ads you run, is it will look at the type of people who typically, interact with your ads. Mm-hmm. And then it will say, okay, well, even though you pick these subsets, within these subsets, we think these people, are the people we should send them
mm-hmm.
to. Because most of the time when you build your audience, and we're going to talk about that in this episode, your audience should be a lot larger
mm-hmm. than
the number of people that you can actually pay in the ad buy to see your ad.
Mm-hmm.
So the more ads you run, Facebook will find, out of the 2 million people in your audience, which people should actually see it.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So reason number 1, your expectations. Okay. Reason number 2, do you have the right objective?
Do you have any objective? I just need to make more money is not an objective.
No, it's not a good objective.
And it's not to say you're not going to have ads that you're not trying to convert into sales. That's different than saying, I'm going to throw up an ad and make money.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work that way.
Right. Exactly. So, you should have an objective whether you are boosting a post or you are creating an ad.
Mm-hmm.
So a boost is when you have an existing post on your Facebook page and you want more people to see that. Mm-hmm. So you're boosting that up. An ad is something that you are creating within the ad manager that is never posted on your Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it exists as an ad. And even if you scroll through your Facebook page, you're not going to see that.
Yeah.
You're not going to see that there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, and again, you have to know what your objective is. So Facebook has broken this down really into 3 different categories of objectives. The first objective is awareness. And awareness is really broken down into 2 categories: building your brand awareness or building your reach.
Mm-hmm.
So when I think of brand awareness, I really think of you're trying to let people know you exist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is not something you're doing to people that like your page. This is to get new people aware of your brand.
And the reason this is important is later on when we get into the audience, it's very important to know if your point is to, grow your brand awareness, sharing out your page to buy likes. It's not going to be super effective to do that against people who like your page.
Mm-hmm. So brand awareness works really well if you are launching a new business, if you're launching a new segment of your business, if you're launching a new podcast, if you're launching a new blog.
Or that's your generic advertising. You're just trying to get the name out in front of there, so the next time when you come back with a consideration or a conversion ad, your name's not new.
Yeah.
Because it's a bigger ask to try and get them to consider something from you, to go to your blog post or to watch your video, than it is for them to just see maybe like your page.
Mm-hmm. Brand awareness might be really good. Like if you're trying to run a meme, which can sometimes be really hard in Facebook because of the way you have to put ads together. And we're going to be doing a whole bunch of episodes on Facebook ads over the next couple months. But Facebook really limits the amount of text you can put on a picture. So sometimes that's tough. But again, this is just like, hey, hi, I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. You're not trying to close. You're not trying to convert. You're not trying to get signups. You're not trying to, it's just, hi, I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's it. Okay. Reach is you're trying to reach more people, right? So again,
that's usually what people look at when they look at their Facebook. The first thing is, what was the reach on this post? And then you have your organic reach, which is what it naturally reaches. And then there's going to be your paid reach, which is what you're getting from the ad.
Right. And we've done some reach ads. We use this with live videos. If we do a live video and it performs pretty well on our page, sometimes we will boost that to expand the reach of the video. And again, that's kind of because we're trying to raise awareness. So, maybe we're doing an ad. We did this you did a live video on the Equifax breach. We ended up boosting that video for reach.
And the reason you have to keep in mind too is if you have the objective of video views, it's going to be more per view. So the thing is, if the point is you're just trying to get people to actually watch the video, it's different than getting the reach. Reach is just a way to help grow the general awareness of your existence.
Right. So the second type of objective is consideration. So this is a lot of times either people that already know that you exist or they know your brand exists, but you're trying to get a little bit more out of them. So this is often you're trying to get more traffic, like to a blog post. You're trying to get people to engage with the ad, with the post. You're trying to get them to install an app. You're trying to get them to watch a video, or you're trying to get them to opt in. Okay. These are all in the consideration category.
Yeah. The thing is, it's a little bit bigger ask. You're not going for money at this point, but it's going to take more of their time and more of their effort, so less people are likely to do it. And so the thing is, you have to realize as you go further down into these 3 categories that they get progressively more expensive.
Yep, exactly. So, and again, you get to pick this when you're generating your ad. So we've used this to get more traffic to blog post. We've done this, if we've done a video that we think is important that we want people on our page to see, we've done these to get people to opt in, like to the focus planner. A lot of the ads that we run, I think, fall into this consideration category where we're trying to get people who probably already know us or have heard of us to interact with us more. And it is going to cost you more than the awareness ads. Now, here's the thing, though. Your consideration ads, you'll still probably get new likes on your page. We usually get new likes on the page. it's cool. Sometimes we've gotten people to share our ads out. That's pretty awesome. So you might get people to respond in ways that you weren't necessarily expecting. Okay.
And we look at those things too, but typically it's like, what is the thing I'm trying to get with this?
Right. Exactly. And then the third type of ad, these are conversion ads. And I think a lot of people run conversion ads way too soon.
Yeah. And the two here are catalog sales, which most people don't do because they don't have a catalog set up in their ad manager. And then store visits, you try and get them to that store on your webpage or your Amazon link, whatever. You try and get them to a place to physically buy something from you.
And you can also do conversions for lead generation as well. You're going to pay more for these. Conversion ads are typically for people who are already, they like you, they know you, they follow you. A lot of times for conversion ads, these are ads that you're running to people who have visited your website but didn't buy. And in another episode, we're going to talk about how you track that. But these are people who are familiar with you, and you're trying to get them to hit that buy button.
Yeah.
Maybe they left, they put something in the cart. You thought they were going to buy, and they didn't do that final step.
So once again, the first issue we think people have trouble with is bad expectations. The second one is they don't have a good, or they don't really understand what their objective is. And once again, the Small Biz Life community is a really great place to chat out with people to get feedback to improve. But the third thing is they're bad at developing an audience. And I think the biggest mistake is when you're small and starting off, your audience isn't big enough to be able to actually target your audience.
Yeah. And meaning the people who like your page.
The people who like your page, the people if you know how to get the people who are on your website through Facebook, there are different ways to do it, but you might not have the audience size yet to do that. And that's okay.
Yep.
But the thing is, in the audience converter, we're trying to intellectually target people through a few things. And I think people think way too linearly here. They think about, I'm looking for people who maybe like this show or that show. And that's the only considerations they have, when really there's maybe some people in those categories that are really bad to look at your stuff, and you want to get rid of them too. So you sometimes want to exclude people who you are normally in an audience you're trying to target and don't want to. So you have to think about, how do I include and exclude certain types of keywords from Facebook to try and get to a better, more responsive audience, to speed up that process to where Facebook is good at getting your ad in front of the right people.
Okay, so now one of my biggest pet peeves on Facebook is people who go into these big groups and say, oh, let's all like each other's pages. Okay. One of the best ways to run Facebook ads is to do what's called a lookalike audience. It's super easy. You just say, I want people who look like the people who like my page. Okay.
Especially when you're boosting posts. That is so simple.
It's so simple. And it's a great way to, because especially if you've got people who are engaged with your page, they like your page, if you've done a really good job. But when you engage in these posts, right, where everybody's liking each other's pages, Facebook is going to go, what on earth is going on with this page? Because you are going to have all different people from all walks of life who have nothing in common other than the fact that they're all in this group liking each other's pages.
Or they're going to sit there and go, well, it must be people 18 to 94.
Right. So you're going to get this, your ad is going to go out to people that make absolutely no sense whatsoever for your brand.
And this is one of the reasons why Jeffrey gets really annoyed with people and vanity metrics. And trust me, I get it, because I want 10 million Twitter followers, and I want 100 million likes on my page, and I want all of these vanity metrics too. And there were times, especially when we first started, where that was what drove me and kept me going. But then I realized, who cares?
Right.
If I have 10,000 people and none of them pay attention to me, it doesn't matter.
Well, that's the thing. It's if you have, I would rather have, 500 people who like our page, who are small business owners, who are looking for the kind of help that we provide, who want to cut the crap out of their business, I would rather have 500 of those than have 10,000 people like our page.
Yeah.
Because those 500 people make up a really good audience that I can use for lookalike.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. And, if I know that I've made this point before, if you've listened to me before, I've done live videos on this, I've done posts on this. Do not get caught up in the vanity metrics game because it's going to screw up your ad buys.
Yeah. And also, it'll screw up you going, I didn't get enough likes of that post. If that wasn't the purpose of the post, who cares?
Right. Okay, so that's a really big one. So stop engaging in all these let's like each other stuff, whether it's on Instagram, because you can run these kind of ads on Instagram as well. Whether it's on Instagram, the Twitter, they like me, so I'll like them back. Don't do that. Put out good content and people will follow you and they'll stick with you. Yeah. Okay. So that's one big thing. I think another thing is, and we've done an episode on this, I think it was episode 4, maybe, way back in the day. Maybe we should do another episode on that at some point too. Who is your ideal customer? I talk to people all the time who are small business owners and like, my ideal customer is everybody.
That's right.
Okay, no.
And here's the thing is, you're not going to turn down sales from anyone. If someone's like, I want to buy your high-end product right now, and you're like, I'm sorry, you're not ready. No, you're probably going to sell it. But the problem is you can't target or try and address the wants and needs of everyone in the world. There's just too many people.
Exactly. And that's the thing. One of the awesome things about Facebook advertising is that we can really, like, if you know who your ideal customer is, right? And you've built that person in your mind on paper. I think in HQ, we've actually had people do that as an exercise where they're like, okay, is it male or female, age range, job? What do they like? What don't they like? Where do they work? What do they do?
Yeah, I think it was May in HQ. We went in depth and looking at it over your sales process. We really went in with,
how much money do they make? And this is the thing, if you've never gone through this process before, one thing that you may want to do is go into the Facebook ad manager and go into, building a custom audience. And it's cool because you can go through it without even... You can go through that before you even build an ad.
The smaller your audience is, or the smaller your budget is, the more time you need to spend going through. Maybe you don't have $10,000 to get really good at doing this. You need to go through each of these. There are 4 overall categories, and I'll list those off. Demographics, interest, behaviors, and more categories, which is sort of the miscellaneous. And within those, there are some really crazy stuff that they have in there, like behaviors. What do they do? I mean, because, hey, if I can target B2B people, I can target so much through here, but I need to know where it is. So if you're not familiar, you don't have a huge budget to start dumping in money to figure out where your audience is, go through and really look at those things and say, which one of those things are my avatar?
Well, and here's the thing. One of the behaviors that you should probably check off, especially if you're trying to get people to buy from your online business, is bought something online within the last 90 days. That is actually a behavior you can select.
And if you're going for a conversion one, and you don't have that picked, your objection is conversion. There are lots of people who maybe are interested, but if you're selling something to them only online, they might just be horrified and afraid of stuff because of like Equifax of doing business online and refuse to do it. There are still people like that. And you have to realize someone who's bought something in the last 9 days, if you can target that behavior and you're trying to sell something with an ad and you're not using that, you're making a huge mistake because you're probably getting people who are maybe strong in every category except for the one where they'll actually pay for products that you're making for them online.
So here's the thing, I think a lot of times, since we are, we're in this business, I spend a lot of time looking at the ads that are presented to me, trying to determine like, was this a good target? Was this not a good target? And you can actually click on an ad and see why you were targeted.
And sometimes it's kind of a generic thing. And sometimes you get some real interesting information on why you were targeted and go, oh,
But this is the thing, like the more you understand about your ideal customer, that avatar you want, that person that you want to go on your blog who's going to fall in love with it, opt in, get your freebie, and then buy your thing. The more you know about that person, the more likely it is that you are going to find more of those people on Facebook through your ads, and you're going to make more money.
Yep.
So let's just kind of talk about, we'll talk about those broad categories a little bit. So the first thing that you're going to want to make sure that you absolutely do if you are English speaking is make sure you pick language.
Yeah, especially if that's the only language that you can do.
Mm-hmm. Make sure that you choose language. You can pick location. Typically, because like for our show, our listeners are from the United States because we're talking about small business in the United States. We talk about tax stuff that only applies to small businesses in the United States. It doesn't mean that we don't have listeners elsewhere, but when I'm running ads, I'm only running ads US based.
Yeah, and that's a difference too, because like with the others, with the World Builders Anvil stuff that get advertised, there are some big English speaking countries where I get a lot of listeners from, and that show is different because it's not talking about laws in the United States, it's about making stuff up. So I know I want English speakers, but I definitely want them if they're in these countries because I know I have people who listen to me in those countries already.
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of interesting too, like especially if you do have something like a blog or a podcast, go look at your Google Analytics or look at your podcast data and figure out where are my listeners coming from.
Whether you're on YouTube, you have a website, you should be able to get the geographic information on where your audience is. And yes, if you're US based, you're probably going to be largely US. But, it's amazing. Like Kristen and I, we were at Webb's, which is a really big knitting store, not too far from where we live, but they're a destination retail store. And we talked about them a couple episodes ago. If you didn't miss that, go back and watch
the future of business.
Trends.
Yeah.
And they have a big board with a map on the wall, and you see pins all over the world from where people have come to a little town in Western Massachusetts to go buy yarn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but that's the thing. So, I think one thing that some people sometimes miss is they don't check off like the English only box or whatever language you speak. Make sure that you do that. Make sure that you only target countries, that you want to target. Because, I think a lot of times we forget, like a lot of the world speaks English.
The whole world's on Facebook.
Exactly. You want to look at demographics. So demographics are things like age, sex, income. Are they employed, right? Full-time, part-time, student, self-employed. There's a lot of information that you can, do they have kids? Do they have pets? That's all stuff that falls under demographics that could be important to, the ads that you're running. And it's interesting because and if you don't know your demographics, Google Analytics will tell you that. Hook your website up to Google Analytics. I know for accounting and focus.
You won't be frightened. Hook your website up to Google Analytics.
Yeah, it's scary. I know that my demographic for accounting and focus is 18 to 22.
You can prove it.
I can prove it because Google tells me so. I know that 55% of my website audience is male. However, on YouTube, it's 65 to 70%. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of interesting. Women tend to search the web but not do as much video.
I do better with women on YouTube. I'm just saying.
I don't do, I don't know. For some reason, the videos are more guys. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But it's really interesting, though, because when we run ads for accounting and focus, I can really, I want students between 18 and 22 years old. And it's even cool because I've been able to use the data on Google Analytics. I know what time they're on my website. Mm-hmm. So I don't run ads from 4:00 in the morning to noon.
Yeah.
Because I'm wasting money. I run ads at night and really late into the night because that's when college students are online going, I don't get my accounting homework and oh my God, and it's due tomorrow and I don't know what to do. So that's the thing, QuickBooks or Facebook will even let you do like what time you want your ads to run. So if you know that if you're Hal Elrod and you're trying to do the Miracle Morning, you're probably not advertising at 5 a.m. because the group that you're trying to get are people who aren't there yet. So it's amazing the kind of information that you can pull out.
Which is also the good thing, too. If you have a properly developed avatar, if you know who your audience is, getting the demographics right is really easy. And that's not to say that you can't reach out and expand to people beyond your avatar. But the thing is, if you're talking specifically to that person in that ad and you're trying to get their attention, it's more likely to work on at least one group of people.
Yeah. And the cool thing is when you're doing your detailed targeting, you can now include and exclude people. Yes. So let's say that you are trying to sell, you are trying to get people to sign up for a credit card. You probably want to exclude people who like Dave Ramsey. Because Dave Ramsey's a no credit card guy. You can now do that. And the cool thing is you can exclude by people who like certain pages.
And maybe you sell to like both genders, right? But let's say you sell jewelry. Maybe the jewelry ads towards the men are different than the ones towards the women. So you still target both of them, but you need two different ad sets. You have two different processes that you're trying to sell them by.
You can put up ads by interest, and interest can be page likes. It can be things that people say they're interested in, movies they like, music they like, artists they like. I mean, think about, all of those things that you put on your profile, that, oh, I really like this movie. Oh, I've watched that movie. Oh, like sometimes you go through people's profiles and it lists like the movies they like, the music they like. When you check into places, that gives Facebook data. There's a lot of stuff that when you go through interests, sometimes you can target groups, like a Facebook group.
Or really popular keywords. And I think the mistake we make is sometimes when we're thinking of our avatar, and this is a mistake I've made where I kind of focus on interest and I don't think much about the demographics or the behaviors. The thing is, you have to realize there are all of these categories and all of them speak to the type of person you're trying to outreach. Like if you have a destination store, you don't care if someone's bought something in the last 90 days online. You want to know if they've gone to a store in the last 90 days.
Right.
So, it's about knowing your audience and what you're trying to get them to do from the ad. Because not every ad is to get them to walk through your door or to go to your blog.
Yeah. And one of the really cool things, when I missed this when we were talking about locations, you can actually target if somebody's visiting an area.
Well, that's under connections.
Oh, I saw that on the locations.
Oh, yeah, you're right. No, I'm getting mixed up too. Yeah. Yeah, you could say, do they live there? Are they visiting there? Or just anyone who happens to be in the area I'm targeting? And it could be as specific as the town I'm in, to a country, to the world.
And that's the thing, like you could say like, like let's say you have a destination store or a destination restaurant and you say, okay, I want to target people that are visiting within 20 minutes of my location. And you're going to run a specific ad just to the people who are visiting. Hey, are you, and maybe you run it at dinner time. Yeah.
Or if you're like a small store in a town that has a festival that brings in extra people, maybe you have it targeting, on that day of the festival, trying to get foot traffic into your restaurant or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, that what you should really be doing if you're kind of intimidated by Facebook ads, the cool thing is you can play with them. You can design an ad, you can design, everything and then not run it.
Yeah. And Facebook will pester you until you tell them that you're not interested. But the thing is you can completely put ads up and really learn these things without spending any money.
Right.
And the thing is, the smaller your budget is, the more important that is.
And the thing is, it's like, I think the least expensive ad buy, depending on the type of ad that you run, you can do as little as $5 a day. I know if you're doing conversions or...
That amount, I think, varies. I think that's also algorithmically based, so it depends on how many ad sales they have going on. The prices will vary a little bit around.
But usually the daily cap, though, doesn't. I found that the daily cap, I think if you're doing awareness, it's about $5. If you're doing the other two,
I have a
it's
$2
$10.
ad buy.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I've never been able to do a $2 ad buy. That's weird.
Mm-hmm.
It also depends on the length of the ads and stuff like that. But if you set, like, especially, we're in the fourth quarter of the year. I'm starting to think about next year's budget. What are we looking at for advertising expense? Kind of budgeting out things for next year. So, when you're thinking about that, think about like, okay, how much do I want to spend on Facebook ads next year? And make it an amount so that you can be spending, a little bit every week.
It's funny. Yes. You should have 365 days worth of budget, and maybe you don't spend it all the time. Maybe like you run ads monthly or whatever, but consider it like, can I do at least $365 next year?
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny when you budget stuff and it comes out automatically and you automatically start doing it, how you seem to find that room in your budget you couldn't before.
Right. And that's the thing, or you could say, as my sales are increasing, I'm going to spend half that increase on ads. Because, here's the thing. If a lot of times we don't, we say, oh, I'm going to spend $250 to get into this little publication or this little weekly thing, or how many people are really going to see that for $250? I'll tell you, a $250 ad buy for Small Biz Life, if we did that, let's say over 2 weeks, we would probably reach 25,000 people with $250.
Yeah.
Now think about that kind of reach for your small business. What other form of advertising are you going to do where $250 is going to get you that kind of potential reach?
And the other thing is, some of you are still sitting there going, you know what? I'm just really not good with technology. I really don't know. I don't know how to use this computering stuff. These Webernets hurt my brain. I don't know what to do. If there is Facebook, strangely enough, wants to make it as easy for you as possible. They've created their own free online video courses on how to do this. Mm-hmm. If you go to facebook.com/blueprints, or if you go to the show notes, there'll be a link there to it. But if you go to the site, and you can sign up and learn how to do it, and they will show you how to use their stuff so you can maximize the benefit, whether you're a local brick and mortar store or you're an online business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that there's a lot of opportunity here that small business owners, whether you're brick and mortar, there are not enough restaurants that are using this.
No. Especially like the location based, you're within a block of my restaurant, throw up an ad.
Right. Or that's the thing. It's like
geofencing is typically expensive outside of Facebook.
Yeah. Geofencing is really expensive. But think about it's like, okay, so right now it's Friday at about 4:00 in the afternoon when we're recording this. And like, I'm starting to think about dinner, right? And I'm probably going to go into Facebook and I'm going to check on Facebook. There should be ads in my feed that like, do you know what you're having for dinner tonight?
Think Italian. Think track 139.
Right. But that's the thing. It's like, I don't see restaurants doing that. I don't see restaurants leveraging this at all.
Especially with how competitive the space is. I mean, yes, please, brick and mortar businesses, we don't think about you. We're sorry. Mm-hmm. We typically think Amazon first, but if you put ads in front of us saying, hey, I'm down the street, we go to you because we also like meeting people in real life too.
Right. Like why, if I'm a hardware store, like a local hardware store, I'd be running ads on Saturday saying, bring in your honeydew list and we'll help you. Like why? Like it amazes me that more small businesses aren't doing this. You have a great opportunity to grow your business, use it. And like I said, that Facebook Blueprints, that's awesome because they will walk you through the entire process of how to do this. So there's really there's no excuse, and even, here's the thing. If you're having trouble with this, see if you can hire a college student to help you, hire a digital marketer to help you, even if it's somebody to help you just kind of show you how to do this and walk you through.
The biggest thing I always say, small business owners, you're responsible to understand the strategy of how your business works. And sometimes if it really is just too far out of reach, it's your responsibility to, your shareholders, which is probably just you.
And your family.
And your family. But, you have responsibility to do the best with the tools you have. And it's a very cost-effective way to outreach. And, trust me, you can go buy a local TV ad. You're probably not going to get as much visibility as you will to the same area through something that you can on Facebook.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, playing around with different ad options and stuff, from running the master's program that I run, I see how much a billboard is, how much a full page ad is, how much is a sponsor a team. And I keep going back to hey, can we run Google and Facebook ads? Because the return on investment that we get from those is much better than anything else that I've seen. Yeah. Especially for the reach that we can get for that. So if you've got questions about this, feel free to, hop into our Facebook group. If you're not already a member, it's facebook.com/group/smallbizlife. When you request to join, make sure you fill out the questions.
Yes. We'll click on, there's a button that tries to remind you.
Yeah.
But if you don't answer the questions, we just, unless we happen to know you in real life, which I'm sure most of those people are joined our group or aren't going to at this point, we're not going to let you in because I'm sorry, we don't know you. So it's a way to help us get rid of the spammers.
Right. And that's the thing. It's we're trying to keep, a quality group and quality people in there. And I think that we've done that. We've got a really great group of people in there. So if you've got questions about this or anything else related to small business, facebook.com/group/smallbizlife. And thanks for checking us out this week, and we'll see you next time.
This was Small Biz Life.